From one of my favorite things to another, DIY. We're talking about the holiday season. It's all about making your holiday decor dreams come true, and it all starts at the front door. That can be the precursor to how the decorations look inside, so you want it to look good. For DIY wreath ideas, we are joined by Owen Reeves. Good morning to you.
Thanks for having me.
So these are beautiful, and these wreaths that we are going to be making, but also the ones that you have made, are all things that we can kind of find in and around our homes.
That's the idea, yeah. So these two that we've got on the wall here are kind of foraged vibes, although I will say I cheated and went to the garden center and picked up a lot of this stuff.
That's okay. I'm here for that.
For a lot of people, it's a lot more approachable because you may not have a space where you can go and forage. So visit a garden center. They have lots of pretty stuff, and you can create the same vibes. So what we have with both of these are very texture heavy, not as much with color because that can be difficult with foraging. So what we rely on is mixing our textures. So we have some fine texture, we have some coarse texture, and then we've got the evergreens to really make it pop. And so we've got things like seeds. Believe it or not, these are actually mushrooms. So
really?
The mushrooms that have been tinted, yeah, the kind that grow on trees. And what I really like about these is that they're not strictly holiday.
Yeah.
They transition really well to just a winter season afterwards. So you don't, we don't have ribbons on here. We don't have ornaments. It's just a little bit more seasonal. Now that said, if you wanted to make it more sort of Christmassy, add those things, take them off after the new year, and then you have a really nice winter arrangement.
Oh, and if we are able to do any foraging, are there rules around what we can and can't take?
Absolutely. So the general rule is no foraging in parks or conservation areas, also managed trails. So don't just walk out and grab things from your local park. That is a no-no. The best spot is private property, of course, with permission. Or you can go to places like Crown Land if that's in your area. Hydro cuts are really good for this kind of thing as well. But make sure that you are in an area where foraging is okay.
Okay, sounds good. We've got a couple wreaths that are started for us with a beautiful green base, and we're going to decorate them. So what do we do?
Well, the idea with these is that we have green base, the fir, this stuff here. Picked it up at the garden center. I've added some extra greens on just to make it a little bit more interesting. And then we have our other decor pieces here that we can use to personalize it to whatever you like. So we're literally just gonna grab some stuff and sort of just slide it in. And they should stick fairly nicely by themselves. If you have a hard time getting them to stay, you can get florist wire, that really thin green wire.
Okay.
And just wire everything in, and that will help. So if you have, say, a really windy spot, maybe your front door is in a windy area, stuff blows off.
Yeah.
Definitely that florist wire is going to come in very handy, and that will make sure that every time you open the door, your wreath doesn't fall all over the place.
I mean, if that sets the tone for your indoor decorations and that happens, that would pretty much be how things roll at my house.
Oh,
so
see, well,
that would work.
Maybe don't use the wire. just roll with it. And again, what we're using are mostly organic elements. The only thing that's genuinely artificial are this pick. We call these picks that we have for the berries. I find real berries can be a little bit tricky because they do tend to fall apart as the season goes on.
Valid.
Artificial ones, you'll get obviously many seasons of use out of these. Just tuck them, put them away with your whatever other ornaments you've got. And pretty much everything else that's going into here is, again, compostable.
That's
so we're going really, really minimal waste. You could put it out in your yard waste bags, and that will pretty much get the job done.
How long are the needles lasting? Like, what's the longevity?
Great question. So it really depends on what they're made out of. So fir, this type of evergreen, is quite long lasting. That's gonna give you probably the best longevity. If you have one that's made out of cedar, which are very common, they unfortunately don't last as long. They dry out, they turn brown, not quite as pretty. So those, if you get 6 weeks out of cedar, that's good. You can expect longer out of fir, and you can also get, there are preservatives that you can spray on them to keep them looking fresher.
Amazing.
And then we've got things like, we've got eucalyptus on these wreaths. They dry on the plant, and that's cool. That's the look that it's supposed to have.
Cool.
But it tends to be when we have evergreens that dry, they don't look quite as good. So yeah,
It'll evolve.
It'll evolve as the season goes on. That's absolutely right.
Owen, thank you so much. Don't pick up my wreath because everything's going to fall off, but it looks beautiful on the table. So I'm glad you were here. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.